What's up, football family? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, PL Coulter. It's week 6, everybody, and hopefully everyone is remaining competitive and jockeying for a playoff position. If not, don't worry. There's plenty of time left. Stick with your boy. I'm going to show you some love on who to start, who to sit, and help you get that playoff push pointed in the right direction. All right, so let's get started. Now, this week we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to talk some who to start, some who to sit, but we're going to focus exclusively on one football game. That will be Monday night's matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I know, most of the time when you think fantasy football, you're not thinking Tennessee or Jacksonville. But if you're hurting at some key positions due to bye week or injury, you may want to take a look at some of these players. They might take that L and flip it over to a W. All right, so let's get started. Now, we'll first take a look at Mr. Vince Young, quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Now, last week, Young had an impressive performance. He had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions against the Dallas Cowboys. Also, he's facing the Jacksonville Jaguars team that he did complete over 80% of his passes against last year. And that defense is even worse in 2010. He's facing a secondary that's given up 282 yards a game through the air. So a 250 total yard, 2 TD performance from Young will be very realistic for you if you need a 1-week play. Now, if you like Young, you definitely want to take a look at his go-to receiver right now, which is Kenny Britt. Now, Britt was a 3rd receiver coming into the season, but he's slowly starting to build up momentum that he had at the end of last season. The injury to starter Justin Gage has certainly helped, and Kenny Britt has had 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Now, last week against the Cowboys, he was a coach's challenge away from having a 100-plus yard, 2 TD performance against a pretty good Cowboys secondary. Now, again, we have talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary being very average at best, and by average I am being nice. So look for Britt to notch his 4th touchdown in as many games, especially due to the fact that Chris Johnson in the running game is starting to really get it going. And Young and the Titans passing game will see a lot of man coverage, which to this point they have been able to beat. So keep your eye on Kenny Britt as well. Now, if you're looking at some Jaguar stars to keep your eye on for a 1-week play, you may want to start with their wide receiver, Mike Thomas. Now, Thomas is slowly emerging himself as the number 1 go-to guy in the passing game for David Garrard. Last week against the Bills, he did notch over 50 yards catching and 50 yards receiving. And he is facing a Titans secondary that's 27th in the league against the pass. Now, someone who's not really a sleeper, but it's not getting shown a lot of love in most publications will be Mr. Marcedes Lewis, the tight end for the Jaguars. Now, Marcedes Lewis has 5 touchdowns in 5 games. Also last year, he did hit the Titans up for 5 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown. And that same Titans defense last week gave up 5 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown to fellow tight end Jason Witten of the Cowboys. So that's definitely a matchup to exploit for Marcedes Lewis. Now we move on to our Homer Alert pick of the week. We'll stick with the Monday night theme. Making their 2010 debut on the Homer Alert watch will be Mr. Maurice Jones-Drew, running back of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now let me back up a little bit. If this is your first time watching, the Homer Alert pick will be that player that you start week in and week out, regardless of the matchup and regardless of their past production, because of who they are and where they drafted them, presumably in the first 2 rounds. So this week's Homer Alert pick, making their debut for 2010, is Mr. Maurice Jones-Drew, stud running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, we all know Jones-Drew lit the Titans up last November in their second game for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns, albeit 2 of those plays made up the bulk of the yards, a 79-yard touchdown and an 80-yard touchdown. Now, word out of Nashville all week is that the Titans defense is geared to sell out to the run, to limit the big play potential of Maurice Jones-Drew, and to force David Garrard in that passing game to beat them through the air, where they can unload that furious front four that they have that's been causing so many problems for so many quarterbacks. Now, That defensive philosophy will definitely aid the production of Mike Thomas and Mercedes Lewis, but their willingness to sell out to stop the run could have and should have Maurice Jones-Drew with a less than 100-yard, 0-touchdown performance. Of course, you may not want to bench him completely, but if he gives you anything at all production-wise, it will more than likely be in the passing game. I certainly hope this helps everyone in Week 6. I certainly want to wish everyone good luck. In closing, I always love to tell you that life is a sport, so always play to win. It's your boy PL. I'm out. God bless.